as a brand, it's very important to meet your customers, to have that in-person experience, give them something, get their feedback, and create that full kind of omni-channel experience. There's always going to be people better than me at those things. So it's just getting out of your own way and either working with someone, an external partner, to find you the right people, or knowing the importance of that to spend time yourself recruiting and finding those people. You've got to remember, I'm running a brand where I'm telling people that the most precious people in their life are their family. And I'm not going to then live a life that is separate to what I'm telling everyone is the most meaningful thing. Like, I live and breathe it.
Welcome to Add to Cart, Australia's leading e-commerce podcast that express delivers all you need to know in the fast-moving world of online retail. Here's your host, Bushy.
Welcome back to Add to Cart, Australia's leading e-commerce podcast for e-commerce professionals who never stop learning. That's you, if you've tuned in. And my name is Nathan Bush, or Bushy, joining you from the land of the Turrbal people here in Brisbane, Australia. This week, we are telling the story of how a deeply personal idea, born from a shoebox of old keepsakes, turned into one of the most emotionally powerful e-commerce brands in Australia. Rosie Collins is the founder and the CEO of Deja Marc, Deja-M-A-R-C, or as you'll hear it referred to simply here as Deja. It's a personalized jewelry brand that transforms fingerprints, handwriting, and even paw prints into meaningful pieces of jewelry made from precious metals. You're going to hear all about it today, including the absolutely wild story how Rosie started her experiment with TikTok with a single video that ended up reaching 16 million views and sent her business into a bit of a scramble. With a background in media agencies, Rosie had never made a product before launching Deja Marc. Today, the brand ships across Australia, the UK, US, and a bunch of other countries, has over 150,000 Instagram followers, and now runs a physical space in Westfield, Bondi Junction for in-person memory moments. In this episode, Rosie shares how she built internal systems to scale personalization, why she planned her business around her maternity leave and the changes that she had to make for that, and how she's designing both her calendar and her company culture to reflect what truly matters to her. From TikTok growth to tech stacks, physical retail to founder boundaries, this is a conversation packed with thoughtful strategies and real-world experience. Now, before we jump in, I want to give you a quick heads up on a brand new masterclass that we've got coming up in partnership with our friends at Studio Hawk. As requested, it's probably our most requested topic. This one is all about SEO in the AI era. What does SEO look like today? Obviously, with Google's AI overviews and tools like ChatGPT now showing shopping results, we wanted to bring in Studio Hawk's Lawrence Hitches to show you how to keep your brand visible in search today. It's happening live, it is free, and you'll walk away with a heap of practical tips that you can use right now. However, you will have to sign up and register to access it. Head on over to addtocart.com.au to register or hit the link in the show notes. Now, a big thanks to our partners Shopify and Klaviyo for making this episode and our podcast possible. We really appreciate their support. Here's my chat with the very smart, very intentional, and very values-driven Rosie Collins, founder and CEO of Deja Marc. Rosie, welcome to Add to Cart.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Nice to have you here. We met in person at Retail Fest.
We did.
How was that for you? Big few days.
It was a big few days. We only did a couple of days, and I don't think I got the full Retail Fest experience because I wasn't drinking, which I know is where the magic happens. So next year.
Oh, you might have got you might have actually learnt something.
I did. I learned a lot. But the most valuable part of our entire experience was obviously out of the conferences and meeting everyone in person. So
yeah, it is good.
It's great.
It's those conversations that you have just outside the main expo hall when everyone piles out and then you're like standing there in the corridors and you meet 5 or 6 different people really quickly. I reckon that is the hot spot in any conference area.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And we have met so many new connections, which I know are going to be transformational for the business.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we are here to learn all about the amazing story behind Deja, Marc. I had so much fun researching what you're doing because I think it's truly unique. I haven't seen anything like that, especially here in Australia. Can you share with us how the idea came about to start with? Because I know your background isn't necessarily e-com or jewelry specific. So,
It's not.
it's a fascinating journey for me. Tell us where you had the idea for this business straight up.
Do you know what? I would say it was a combination of many things. So the DNA in me is I'm a deeply sentimental person. I'm that person who has the shoebox underneath their bed of all the small like memorabilia, trinkets, things that I've attached meaning to throughout my life. I have it here in Australia with me. Brought it over from England when I moved.
When did you move?
I've been here for 15 years.
Okay.
I know.
You're
I'm
here
an
now.
Australian.
Yeah.
I am. I've got the passport, got the Australian husband. So, I'm not going back. But yeah, that is just something that I love attaching meaning to stuff and keeping stuff with me. And then also when it was someone's like birthday or a wedding gift, I would always try and find something and it didn't quite match who they were as well as the occasion that we were celebrating. So I would go on to like personalized websites and create something for them. I actually did a reading for a friend's wedding and I couldn't find a reading I liked. So I wrote one and it was about their journey and it just made it so much more meaningful and so much more personal to them. But I would say the real like ding moment for me is when I was attending my friends' baby showers and they personally are going through this huge life stage, this huge milestone, and it was about the baby versus them. And I wanted to give them something to remember this moment. So when babies came along, I just had this idea, which was how can I create something of beautiful quality that is going to last you, their entire lifetime and attach meaning to it of this beautiful celebration for you. So that's where the idea of fingerprint jewelry came along.
Amazing. So you are deeply sentimental and sounds like you're a great gift giver.
Oh,
what? You put a lot more thoughts into gifts than I do.
I do, but I do get quite overwhelmed by choice.
Okay. What makes you then go? Because if I'm not misunderstood, you're in media agencies at this point?
Yeah.
What makes you think I'm going to go start a business to create my own products here?
I would say a whole lot of naivety was probably the main thing. My role within agencies was always quite strategic. I wasn't in the implementational buying, performance marketing part of media agencies. I was the client facing, the person who was having the conversation with the brands themselves about how they can improve on their businesses. And a lot of that comes with lateral thinking, being in rooms with, those creative thinkers. So I would say I was in and having a lot of those conversations a lot of the time.
I think it's such a good background for a lot of people being surrounded by all different types of people in agency world. Like obviously media buyers who are really planning numbers. And then on the other side of the table, you often have creatives who are thinking of the biggest and the brightest and the craziest ideas. And then you've got a client who's thinking about operationally and what does this mean for my bottom line?
Yeah.
Amazing conversations to have.
Amazing conversations to have and also have a place at the table and witness that. So once I had the idea for Deja, there was no daunting thought in my mind about how I need to approach this. There was a series of steps. This is pre-ChatGPT where, you couldn't just get a summary of everything you needed. But I had a pretty good idea on what I needed to do in order to produce a product, get that live on a website and then promote it.
Beautiful. All right, fast forward. How many years are we talking now?
So I had the idea and within a year,
wow,
I had quit my job. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Over 150,000 followers now on Instagram, shipping to multiple countries. It's well and truly on its legs. What was a key thing that you did in those early days to get the business up and running, to move it out of that side hustle territory and into this is really serious, Mum?
Yeah. I would say I got out of my own way and I employed experts or I outsourced to experts. Again, coming from that media background, you know the types of people and the range of companies and expertise that you need within a business in order to make it scale at a fast pace. So that is probably what I would say is that what I did really, really well. I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And I think I've had a pretty good run, and I feel very fortunate with my amazing team that I have here, as well as the experts that we lean on externally to be able to grow Deja. And I know everyone talks about being a founder and running a business can be relatively lonely, but the last year and a half, I've really lent into building an external network. And that I don't feel lonely at all anymore. I have a number of people that I feel confident enough to pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm thinking this, or I have this type of challenge. This is what I'm thinking. Do you agree? Yes or no? And if they don't know the answer, they know someone who knows the answer.
What does that network look like? Are they all kind of paid consultants or partners, or is it a mixture?
It's a mixture. So we have coaches from an e-commerce perspective. That's everything from understanding numbers to website development, all the way through to performance marketing, which has been hugely helpful. So if you think a lot of the times in business, you might just have a list of things you want to tweak, but they add up to be a lot, but individually they're quite small tasks. Whereas now we can quickly just send a message to that team and then they will then go and fix that, or they will then have a think about that. And that is a paid resource, but I would say it's relatively, it's pretty cost efficient in my books.
Yeah.
Then from a networking perspective and just having great contacts and resources, they're free, I hope. And, I know some of them are like partners that we have from a customer service platform perspective, or just apps that we add into Shopify, people like yourself and people that you meet, and then you're building a network that way. Yep. So that's probably the people that I trust the most at the moment within externally to the business.
But I think too, it comes down to your attitude and your, it's the, I've got a problem, rather than spending 2 weeks, a month trying to solve it myself. Sounds like your first gut instinct is to go, who do I know that knows this better than I?
Yeah. And I'm a very big problem solution person. It's just the way that my brain operates.
Yeah.
So once there's a problem doesn't necessarily a challenge, as it were, I need to get my head around it. My head gets a little bit fuzzy when I don't have the answers for things. So I like to get to them as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So before we go too deep, we should take people back, because we've touched on the personalization and the idea, but I don't think we've fully explained it. And I think it's such a cool product that you've created here. Can you talk us through the USP of what you've created and the range of jewelry that you've created?
Of course. So at Deja Marc, we are known for our personalized jewelry. That is in the form of fingerprint jewelry, handwriting jewelry, and then also paw print jewelry. We don't discriminate to those who are obviously obsessed with their dogs. And how it works is essentially we almost just produce the canvas. The jewelry is the canvas. You add meaning, you add your story to it.
That's cool.
It could be the birth of your first child. It could be you trying to commemorate the life of someone who has or is passing away. And there are these moments that happen in our lives where we want to keep that person or this moment with us at all times. With our handwriting jewelry, you might have a card or a letter or some words which truly, truly mean something so deep to you. And we can engrave that, and you will have that around your neck, for example, forever. So that's where being able to produce something of true meaning, you give it that meaning, we produce the canvas. So the range of jewelry that we have covers everything from necklaces, pendants, rings, and bracelets. And the combinations and the variety of engravings that you can add to them is basically endless. You can have fingerprint on one side, handwriting on the other. And essentially whatever is meaningful to you, we can have engraved.
Yeah, it's cool. I love the creativity of it as well, in that it's not just a fingerprint. Well, it could be just a fingerprint if you wanted to, but you've actually got designs where you can have fingerprints in butterflies or love hearts split in half with different fingerprints in there.
Yeah.
It allows people to be really thoughtful with their design, either for themselves or for others.
Absolutely. And one of the best and most meaningful things that we have done is, and I'm actually sitting in it at the moment, is we opened in Westfield, Bondi Junction.
Oh.
We now have appointment only in-person experience where I say people kind of come in to have these legacy moments. We had this lady last week who came in on her birthday, which is just so special. She came in with her entire family, her husband and her 2 kids, and she got some of their fingerprints, she got her son's handprint, and then her husband's handwriting. And she used the combination of them to create a truly personalized piece on her birthday. We gave her some champagne. It was just a special, special moment that she's not going to forget. And we, as a brand, are invited into that special and have created, but also just invited into her birthday. How amazing is that?
Yeah, that's very cool. Westfield Bondi Junction, that's not a quick pop-up at the local shopping centre. That's a big play into physical retail.
Yeah.
What convinced you to go down that path?
Being extremely practical and business about it, we have to produce our jewellery. We produce it all in Australia, in Sydney, within our studio. So being able to tack a in-person experience onto that ultimately pays for that rent. That's the business brain within me.
Mm-hmm.
The other is, even when we were e-com only, we had so many requests for people wanting an in-person experience. So then the next space that we moved to prior to this then had a small in-person. And then as you just kind of evolve and you want to add more meaning to your brand, you then go to Westfield Bondi Junction as the natural next step.
Yeah. Do you see that as the future? The physical is just as important as the e-com experience?
I think so. I don't think it's going to overtake what we're doing from an e-com perspective, purely from the distribution perspective that it has. But being able to, as a brand, it's very important to meet your customers, to have that in-person experience, give them something, get their feedback, and create that full kind of omni-channel experience. And think about post-COVID, where everything went online. And that was when I first went full-time, that was COVID. I didn't realize the heyday, as it were, from a performance marketing perspective, what I got myself into.
Good time to launch a brand.
It was a great time to launch a brand. And then after that, we're now seeing how important community and in-person experiences to evoke a feeling or an emotion from a customer. So that aspect, whether it's in store or whether it's utilizing other spaces to build more and strengthen our community in a physical perspective, is definitely something that we're expanding into.
So I can imagine that Instagram would have been a huge channel to grow the brand initially.
Yeah, it was.
What kind of content did you do to kind of break through and introduce the concept?
From a strategic perspective, even just putting this, it makes it sound way more simple than it is, but even just showcasing the product in its beauty or in a unique way gained a lot of traction. Yes. So TikTok and Instagram have been the largest channels for us, and simple emotive content and putting our product at the heart of that and the story behind those pieces has deeply resonated with our customer. This is a wild story in my eyes. The first post I ever did on TikTok got 16 million views.
Wow.
and a million likes, and it completely transformed the business overnight.
Your very first post on TikTok?
Very first post. Again, it was in COVID. Remember how Perth was like the last state to open their doors? I went there to meet my now husband's family for the first time after kind of being in lockdown for however long we were. Brought COVID over with on the plane, gave everyone in Perth, or what felt like everyone in Perth, COVID at the time, and was just in lockdown, and my brain doesn't really switch off from work. So I just carried on working, and I just thought, fuck it, I'm going to try TikTok. This was back when doing the dancing And that era of TikTok was the most popular. And
Yep.
it didn't align to me and it didn't align to the brand. So I just put this video, and all it was just a simple video of me turning a pendant. And you add emotive music, emotive caption, and an emotion of whose fingerprint that is and what's engraved on the back. It sounds so simple, but that combination of see it, hear it, read it, just made it go extremely viral.
Amazing. And did you get a kick in sales immediately?
Yes, but it came from countries that we didn't have set up. So there was this immediate panic and rush in terms of Shopify payments, PayPal set up, and Shopify markets didn't exist at this point.
Yeah.
I believe. Yeah, I don't think they did. Or if they did, it was and so that was the panic kind of set in. But that formula was quite consistent for us from a content perspective across both TikTok and Instagram. So once we did have the right infrastructure in place, it very quickly identified the next markets that we should go into. So that then has made us set up a UK. We have basically everything that we have set up here, a physical space over in the UK.
Wow.
And then in the US, we heavily distribute to them as well. We don't have a physical setup, but we kind of have the same infrastructure over there.
Is there much competition in the UK and the US model around personalization of jewelry?
There is, absolutely. And I wouldn't say we have done the due diligence and deep dive much into competition. I kind of just learn from our own performance and then expand from there. I'm not really a big look at the competition gal, if I'm honest.
Run your own race.
Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, it can just be a bit overwhelming. You kind of get nothing done.
Anyone who's had a personal trainer knows that whatever targets you set, they're going to raise them. So when Nutrition Warehouse looked to engage Klaviyo, it wasn't just about sending emails effectively. They tasked them with increasing revenue, driving awareness, and building customer lifetime value. That's a spicy set. But Klaviyo were up for the challenge. By creating the right email flows triggered by customer actions, using geo-targeting for their 110 stores, and using predictive analytics to target high-value customers with personalized offers, they proved that they were up to the challenge. Smashed it, in fact, with a 47% year-on-year increase in placed order rate on email flows and a Klaviyo ROI of 50 times, Nutrition Warehouse remain ahead of the pack. To explore how Klaviyo can grow your e-commerce business and to see more case studies like this, visit klaviyo.com/au. Going back to the storytelling on Instagram and TikTok, what was it that you said? Was it see it, read it, hear it?
Yes.
Do you apply that to both TikTok and Instagram, or are you creating unique content for either?
No, we produce more unique content for Instagram, but for TikTok, it's that same formula. I wouldn't say it's overly strategic. There's no real storytelling through our TikTok because I personally don't believe that's how people consume brands on TikTok. They'll just see it, they might like it, they might save it or favorite it, but they're then not necessarily going back to that brand page to see what else they do because it's just such a short form consumption. And like, even if I think about how I consume TikTok, I do it as a visual Google. So I might be trying to, whether it's like kids or toddler recipes or I don't know, like skincare reviews. Yeah. I'm simply just trying to find what I'm trying to find versus follow someone else.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's either, I feel like TikTok is very much you're searching it out or you'll just entertain me for half an hour, serve me up some good stuff. Whereas Instagram feels like
entertainment or information.
Yeah, Instagram feels like I'm into this. Like I want to hear from these people regularly.
Yeah. And then from Instagram, there's much more storytelling and purposeful intent going into that and making sure that we're deeply resonating with our audience. And after 4 years in the business, I believe that I understand, well, I do. I understand what resonates, what content resonates with them. And it isn't, and I know this is on trend at the moment, it isn't us. It isn't me as a founder. It isn't us as a business, it's them. It's the customer. It's their life stage that they're going through. It's mums are our core target audience. Females are our core target audience. And the life stage that they're in is messy. It's beautiful, chaotic, but it's messy. So trying to resonate with their life stage in our non-product content is what works well. And then with a product perspective is, the beauty and the meaning behind the pieces and how that resonates with their life and their kids. And that's what works.
I could imagine that you must hear the most amazing stories of the reasons why people are creating what they're creating.
Yeah.
As you transition into community and storytelling, especially on Instagram, how have you helped the audience or your customers tell their story and their meaning behind what they've created?
We are blessed that our audience will immediately let us know the story, the meaning, and then once they get the item, they'll send us pictures and be so grateful for it. I remember I used to read reviews on a Friday religiously, but after such a long work week, I had to stop reading them because I'm tired. It's just been those weeks. And I just used to cry all the time because the stories are just, they're so real. And it's the whole reason why, I launched Deja and why us as a team do what we do, because there's so much meaning behind a product. And I don't know that many products that have that much meaning behind it. But to answer your question, we absolutely can and should be doing that better, I believe. But it's one of those things where if someone reaches out to us, we understand their story. And if they're comfortable, then we will produce a piece of content off the back of that. Sometimes they just want to tell you that they love it. Sometimes they want you to help share their story. Some of them are amazingly positive stories. Some of them are really sad, tragic stories. So there's a level of respect that has to go into the conversations that we're having with them.
Yeah.
But if they're comfortable, then we absolutely, share that and allow other people within the community to experience that.
Amazing. It feels like it would be very easy to go down a rabbit hole of storytelling, given the depth, emotional depth, I suppose, of the stories that you would hear, as well as all the different scenarios. But it reminded me that I was at a TikTok event last week and they talked all about the funnel, and we're still talking about the funnel, in 2025. And I thought the funnel would be dead, but as a concept, it's easy to gauge, right? So they were talking about, you need to create videos for each level of the funnel. So you need those storytelling and awareness. But if you get caught up there, you'll never bring people through to that mid-funnel and then actually talking about your product and what makes your product different and the call to actions around actually buying. Because it's very easy to get stuck up here, isn't it, in this beautiful storytelling land, and then people going, that's all nice, but that was entertainment for me.
Yeah.
You need to sell stuff. So you need to create content at different levels.
Absolutely. And there are also different channels that allow you to do that. It doesn't have to always be on the same one.
Yeah.
There's a brand I love called Peanut, the Peanut app. It's an app which I actually used it myself when I was pregnant, which you connect with other mums in your local area to basically just make sure that you have your village around you during this time. They don't post or talk about that app whatsoever on their Instagram. It's purely content, which I don't even think is theirs the majority of the time. It's what I would call filler content, where they're just repurposing content that they know would resonate with their audience. And then they use their other channels, their more performance channels, their own channels to do the actual sell. So I think that funnel can exist very beautifully across multiple channels.
As long as you've got your audience data connected across the channels.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
That makes sense.
Correct.
Now, you talked before around the beautiful, chaotic, messy life of family and motherhood. How are you balancing all that with such a startup, as we heard, now in the US, UK, Westfield here, there's a lot going on. How do you balance it all?
Yeah.
And I'm very conscious I'm asking you this question because it's not a topic that often comes up with male founders as well.
Yeah.
So I'm very conscious that we've had a pre-conversation about this, and it was something that we talked about beforehand. So I'm not just asking you because you're a female sitting in front of me with a business. I think that's really important to acknowledge, but I know it's something that you've kind of put a lot of effort into understanding and connecting with other mothers going through similar things as you are. Shopify is committed to keeping their merchants at the cutting edge of innovation, and the features released in their Summer 25 edition are no different, as they give brands the tools that they need to work smarter today and thrive in the future. For example, Shopify's AI tool Sidekick just got a lot smarter. It's able to synthesize data from multiple sources simultaneously, moving beyond basic Q&A to solve complex business challenges. They've also made scaling globally even easier with Shopify Payments. You can now manage various business entities and settle up in multiple currencies from a single store. And for in-store, POS has been redesigned, making the day-to-day experience for retail staff easier with improved search, intuitive navigation, and a more flexible cart. Check out over 150 features that have been released by searching Shopify Summer 2025 edition.
Yeah, and I am deeply passionate about it because I really struggled to find any content or information about how to do it, how to juggle it. So when I was pregnant with my first child, it was, how do I continue for this business to run beautifully, effectively, and elegantly without me, and not leave it in a chaotic mess while I go and have this beautiful moment and beautiful life stage where I absolutely want to remain present.
Yep.
So for me, it was very, very important that I took some time away from the business in order to have that beautiful moment with my first child and newborn at the time. So I guess the word juggle, everyone, if you're in business, you're juggling everything anyway, but I kind of try and reframe it as like I'm designing, which sounds maybe a bit formulaic, but for me, I didn't necessarily love process before I had a child, whereas now process, as you know, and routine is absolutely your best friend.
Yeah.
And when I found out I was pregnant, it was, what do I need to learn and what do I need to put in place in order not to return back to work really, really quickly. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore Deja, but I knew I needed and wanted this moment in time. So what I essentially did was just try and hunt as many female founders or people who'd had a similar experience to produce a toolkit. Again, it sounds very structured and rigid, but I really mentally needed it.
Yeah.
Because everyone tells you that it's going to be fucked, excuse my French, but they do. They're like, it's going to be awful. And I just was preparing myself for the worst and being like, how can I run a business and have a newborn at the same time? I needed to separate the two of them. So really important to hire the right people, make sure the business is in a really good position that you can step away. And I had some amazing advice, which was to step away from the business before I physically needed to step away. So give the team time to, by me physically not being there, they couldn't ask me questions. They had to answer those questions themselves, which was hugely successful.
How much time frame did you give them for that before you?
Well, it was meant to be 2 months, but then my daughter came a little bit early. So it ended up being a month altogether.
Yeah.
And that worked really, really well. And I also just knew, what are the roles that I'm doing that could be outsourced? So the things that couldn't were financials, like commercials, payroll, paying invoices, etc. But the things that could be was any inventory, any marketing. So I worked the year prior to that to making sure I had the best people in place to do that.
Wow.
And then when I did have Scarlett, again, she came a bit early. I remember I was paying the girls whilst I was in labour. I was like, I just need to quickly pay everyone. Just make sure everyone gets paid on time, which was a hilarious story. And then, when you have your own business, you can't, whilst I physically wasn't there, I was working still. I just wasn't working 5 days a week. And there's this concept, I was like, I just want this maternity leave. But the reality was I still was working. I was just maybe working 1 day a week across the week versus 5 days. And being able, I heard this podcast, or I heard Michelle Battersby, she, after 4 weeks, was going back to work. And I was like, oh my gosh, how is she going back to work after 4 weeks? But the reality was she was just going back 1 day a week. And I was like, well, that's not too dissimilar to what I've done.
Yeah.
So that was a good kind of reframing. And yeah, so then I was able to build the village around me, had support. I mean, neither myself or my husband have any family here. So I worked hard, I guess, to find like-minded people around me who were in the same situation so that we could have this village together.
Amazing.
And then we also hired a nanny kind of 3 days a week for 3 hours a day so that I could also work.
Yeah.
So that was the practicality then, which it almost, just thinking about it now, I'm trying to remember because it just feels so long ago. Whereas now I have a toddler, it is quite hard to find people in exactly the same situation with you who has exactly the same size business as you to learn from them. So you just have to take the information that resonates with you from anyone that you speak to and kind of mentally build up a bit of a toolkit to how it works.
Yeah. It sounds like almost extreme foundership. It's almost like some of those things that you were talking about before around getting ready to be on maternity leave for the first time is what I often hear founders talk about, going, if I could just get rid of the things where I can have other people come in and do for me so I can focus on the bigger picture or the stuff that really moves the business forward, that's where I'd love to be. In your case, it sounds like the bigger picture was the family and making sure you make the most of this time together. But I think there's a lot of founders, mothers or otherwise, that are like, how do I give up the dependency on me in a business? Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, there's always going to be people better than me at those things. So it's just getting out of your own way and either working with someone, an external partner, to find you the right people, or knowing the importance of that to spend time yourself recruiting and finding those people.
Yeah.
I think I'm fortunate. Again, I'm not someone who gets very in the details, despite me just talking about my wild toolkit for how to juggle motherhood and being founder. I know I'm not very good in the details and the weeds of things. I view almost everything bird's eye view, like a chess table, so I can clearly see the moves that need to be made,
Yeah.
which is a positive, but I also need to hire the right people to do the specific implementation, the detail, and take the time to think that way. So being able to know what that next move is, whether it is team structure or the hires and what you specifically need, I back myself to know that.
Amazing. And I'm interested to hear from you because obviously motherhood doesn't stop once you give birth. There's going to be all sorts of pressures as kids go through different ages. My kids are 9 and 10, and I had the guilt put on us today in that we couldn't make their classroom showcase. Both Sarah and I were working and had things we just could not move. And so that juggle is continual. What are some of the things that you've learned or the principles that you've got in place to help you design that? You know, we talked about juggle versus design, but it sounds like you're very much on the design side. What are some of the principles you put in place as a founder?
I feel like I'm very early into this journey. You know, my daughter is 16 months. You've had 9 years, 10 years, you might be able to
I haven't figured it out yet.
Provide me, exactly. And I don't think anyone does, because it just moves so quickly and you learn something every single stage. But for me at this stage and going about that designing, there are some serious non-negotiables for me. So the day that I have the most amount of energy is a Monday, because I've had a weekend. My husband and I have, been sharing kind of parental responsibilities, and you're just not working. So you have your downtime. So Monday for me is where I have the most amount of energy. So the person that I spend that day with is Scarlett. She's the person that deserves my attention. So that's non-negotiable. And then if I think about how I want to live my life and run my day, work weirdly is the third component of it. So I love my sleep. Like, I'm obsessed with sleep. Even with a child and with a newborn, it was like, how do I get as much sleep as possible? So
what are we talking, 8 hours a night?
Which again, standard. So 7 or 8 hours. But there's this time in the morning between like 6 and 8, which is our family time. It is beautiful. And at the moment, we don't change that. So whether that's every other day we'll go for a walk, then the other day we'll kind of stay indoors and like do playtime. That is just, I love it. It's like the favorite part of my day, and I'm not changing that. Then I have work. I come from a world where you would work 9 till 6, 9 till 7, and it's very easy to take that over to your founder world when you don't have any other responsibilities. But now I'm like, how do I get what I need to get done in 20, 25 hours a week?
Mm.
And then the back end of the day, again, is family time, and then husband and my time. I'm running a brand. You've got to remember, I'm running a brand where I'm telling people that the most precious people in their life are their family. And I'm not going to then live a life that is separate to what I'm telling everyone is the most meaningful thing. Like, I live and breathe it. And yes, I'm juggling scaling a business, but I also have a beautiful team to support doing that. We are all very aligned in our value as a team. It's not like they're working crazy hours and I'm not. I still work the majority of hours of everyone else. If I was to break our staff down and put it into like a FTE, so a full-time equivalent, we would have half of the staff, but everyone works part-time. We have a couple of full-time staff, and we all value our family.
Amazing. So that's the culture.
That's the culture. Yeah. We value meaning. We value our life outside of work. And then when we come to work, we are a beautiful family who, and everyone understands just, what's meaningful. And again, I am 16 months into this. You are 10 years into this. There's absolutely going to be a scenario where we're going to miss the, whatever scenario at school.
Yeah.
We're just not yet there yet. So I've kind of got this positive thing where I'm like, family, then work, but it's going to happen.
Yeah, but it's not just positive intentions. It's actually, you've created a system for you and your family and your team to be able to prioritize what's important to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me then around Deja. On the outside, it looks complicated because every piece is unique. You're in multiple countries now. You're scaling fast. You've got physical as well as online. What are some of the biggest challenges that are coming at you today?
One would be personalization at scale. When I first started Deja, we were the only person who was doing this outside of a marketplace. It was very, when you thought of fingerprint jewelry, it was very Etsy marketplace.
Yep.
And I knew I wanted to produce a brand, and that had to therefore be on a beautiful Shopify website and producing an e-commerce store and an online narrative. Now it's very different. We have people bidding against us on, Google, and so that's important from a scaling perspective. Then personalization at scale is just making sure the systems and the processes are in place that as you scale, our quality will never be compromised because it's a core value of ours, and the speed as well at which we do it, that hasn't changed since the beginning. So it's a 7-day turnaround.
Oh, wow.
100% precious metal, and then customer service is at the heart of what we do. So that was one of our first hires as well. But really, one of the things that I have put, again, it's systems and processes, is we built our own internal production system where we're able to understand where exactly everyone's orders are across the world. Some of them, for example, so for context for anyone listening, we send out a fingerprint kit. You complete that kit, you then upload that into our system, and then we turn that around within a week and ship it out to you. Where we've worked hard on our website that it's all fully customized, fully personable. So you've got a number of different options on how you want to personalize your jewelry. So obviously there's a number of variations there, and there needs to be a level of process and due diligence on a customized dashboard, for example, which as a business means that you feel very comfortable at scaling.
Yeah.
So that's what we've done.
And does that mindset then really kind of make sure that you're scaling sensibly and not pushing into new markets or opening new stores or expanding too quickly?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things, again, because it comes back to the value of the business and the people in it and designing, having a life by design, I'm not here to turn around and say, this year the business did X many tens of millions.
Yeah.
The things that are valuable to me is how much profit has your actually, and people don't talk about this, how much profit did your business actually do? And how much time did that enable you to spend with your family? And you just hear these narratives of, my business made this much money per year, but cool, did you work 12, 15-hour days, and did you actually have any profit? And did you see anyone you love? Then I don't care.
can imagine you around. I would love to be at a founder's dinner with you and just having some of those conversations, because I think you'd keep it very real.
And don't get me wrong, I love to geek out on business.
Yeah.
Like we could sit here and talk about Shopify apps and, e-commerce, lifetime customer value all the time. I love that. But
you can't be profitable if you don't nerd out on that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So it's important that the business, and we have grown absolutely year on year, but I will not scale unsustainably.
What's in store for the next 12 months? What are the things that are really exciting you for Deja?
Well, we have so much.
Apart from having a new bulb, obviously.
I know. And to be honest, it wasn't on the cards. So this is like but if you have a weekend away and
wasn't in the strategic plan.
Stuff happens. It wasn't in the strategic plan. So we've had to pivot. No, I'm joking. We have so much. We have made some amazing new hires. I've made the decision that I never have been the jeweler for the business. So we've hired a jeweler, which is amazing. And again, we are leveling up our outsourcing of expertise. And so that's like happening as we speak at the moment. So I'm just really excited about like the infrastructure that we have happening, and thinking about our internal team and then the extension of that team and what those capabilities can do for our customers. So that's kind of like the geeky performance marketing side. And then from a customer point of view, growing in-person community-led events. I'm really excited because in August, is it in August? Maybe it's next month. We are starting like weekly walks with mums.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited. It's just a way to like meet our customers, meet our community, but you need kind of a frequency around that. I see a lot of brands do these events where customers come and it's a one-off and it's really, really nice and the whole thing's really beautiful. But for our audience and what they're going through, they need repetition and a frequency of these in-person meetings where you can just talk about, meet new people. There's so many people that are saying that they want to meet other people. And that's just not related to motherhood. It's definitely deeper in motherhood. But you'll see this with run clubs happening, with younger demographics as well. So that's really exciting.
I love the idea of frequency too, especially for mums, because so much changes week by week, month by month. And it's nice not to have to do the whole catch up on how was your month or how was the last couple of months. It's like, I saw you last week.
Yeah.
There's probably been a whole range of new problems or lots of new stuff that you want to share and kind of unpack with someone. So frequency is a great thing around community.
Absolutely. It is. And also, like you say, if you're catching up with friends, and you probably will know this as well, if you're catching up with friends on a monthly or even a quarterly basis, you end up just catching up and not really have anything of meaning or any depth.
Yeah.
So by having these things that are frequent and they're able to connect, meet new people, but also hopefully have some of these deeper conversations around motherhood. And then we're obviously going to capture that and turn it into content as well.
How good. All right. Rosie, I've loved this. This has been great. What's the best way for people to get in touch? Especially, I can imagine that we're going to have a lot of parents, especially mums, who resonate with what you're saying and how you've designed your business and your life. I know that you're very open to hearing from them and connecting with others who are in similar situations. What's the best way to get in touch?
So me personally on Instagram is Rosie Collins, and then on LinkedIn is Rosie Collins.
Lovely. And connect with everything on Deja Marc via the website. It's the best place to go?
Via the website, or I would also say Instagram.
Lovely.
As well, which is just Deja Marc.
Thank you so much for joining us on Add to Cart.
Thanks, Nathan. Thank you.
What a refreshing reminder that building a brand doesn't have to mean burning out. That doesn't mean you have to sacrifice everything that's not business to grow a business. When I met Rosie at Retail Fest, we talked a lot about motherhood, parenthood, and all the sacrifices and all the juggling that comes along with it. So that was the reason that we wanted to dive into that conversation today. I think there's so much more that we could have dived into, except we only had an hour. And I love Rosie's approach. She systemized it and she knows where to spend her time and what's important to her. After all, that's why you create your own business, isn't it? Here are 3 lessons that I think any e-commerce professional can take from this chat. Firstly, I loved how Rosie called out the difference between using Instagram for storytelling and TikTok for discovery. From Rosie's perspective, TikTok is all about those visual, emotional hits to drive awareness, whereas Instagram is about going where the narrative happened. Each channel plays a role. You just need to know what the role is for your brand and not treat them the same. Secondly, community doesn't have to come with a huge price tag. We heard about Rosie's shift from growing the brands through COVID, using performance advertising, to now focusing more on community and connection. I love Rosie's idea of launching weekly mum walks as a low-cost, high-frequency way to connect with customers in real life. It's a simple concept. It's a low-cost concept. Think about what your version of that could be for your community. And thirdly, growth isn't just about revenue. It's about alignment. Rosie's building a business around her values, her family, and her team's well-being. As she said, if you don't see anyone you love, I don't care how much you made. I just love that thought. Whatever business you're in, whatever business you work in, you've got to work out what is valuable to you. After all, that's why we're all doing what we do. A massive thanks again to our partners, Shopify and Klaviyo, for helping bring these amazing stories to life. If you love this episode, don't forget to follow us inside the Add to Cart community, which you can join over on addtocart.com.au. We've got events, deep dives, heaps of inspiration from founders like Rosie, ready whenever you are. Come and meet over 400 e-commerce professionals in there. I'll catch you next time. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, keep those customers adding to cart.